The darkness over the Persian Gulf is shattered not by the sunrise, but by the synchronized ignition of 300 ballistic missiles. In Bahrain, the sirens of the US Fifth Fleet scream a warning that is already too late. Radars light up across the region as a swarm of low-cost suicide drones saturates the airspace, overwhelming multi-million-dollar interceptors through sheer volume. This is not a drill. This is day one of a conflict the world has spent 40 years trying to avoid. Within 90 minutes, the global price of crude oil surges by 30%, as insurance companies declare the world's most vital maritime choke point a no-go zone. The air is thick with the scent of burning jet fuel, and the terrifying realization that the shadow war has finally stepped into the light. But to understand how we reached this terminal point of no return, we have to look past the fire and into the cold, calculated logic of a chess match played with human lives. For decades, the tension between Washington and Tehran was defined by a delicate dance of asymmetric warfare. Iran, cognizant that it cannot match the United States in a conventional head-to-head fight, spent 40 years perfecting a strategy of regional hegemony. They didn't build a massive navy, they built a proxy network that stretches from the Mediterranean to the Gulf of Aden. This Shia crescent serves as a forward-deployed shield, allowing Tehran to project power without ever firing a shot from its own soil. However, the equilibrium broke when the policy of maximum pressure met the reality of strategic patience. When economic sanctions crippled the Iranian rial, the leadership in Tehran faced a binary choice: internal collapse or external escalation. They chose to climb the escalation. By day 3, the conflict expands into the digital realm. A massive cyber offensive targets the American electrical grid and financial hubs, a silent front designed to sow domestic chaos and weaken the political will in Washington. Meanwhile, the US responds with surgical strikes aimed at Iranian centrifuge cascades and command and control centers. The goal is simple: neutralize Iran's nuclear proliferation capabilities and its first strike capability in one fell swoop. But the Pentagon quickly learns that destroying a target is easier than destroying an ideology. As American precision-guided munitions, PGMs, rain down on the Iranian mainland, the IRGC activates its anti-access/area denial A2AD systems. Thousands of hidden missile silos carved deep into the Zagros Mountains begin a relentless war of attrition. By the second week, the Strait of Hormuz is a graveyard of tankers. The global supply chain begins to fracture. In the West, gas stations run dry. In the East, manufacturing giants like China see their energy security vanish overnight. This is the hidden war revealed. The realization that a conflict in the Middle East is never localized. It is a tectonic shift in the global order. The US finds itself bogged down, not in a quest for a regime change, but in a desperate attempt to keep the sea lanes open. Intelligence assets on the ground report that rather than fracturing, the Iranian populace is rallying around the flag, fueled by a narrative of resisting foreign intervention. The grand strategy of quick decapitation has failed, replaced by the grinding reality of a multi-front theater. Day 21 marks the entry of non-state actors into the fray. Hezbollah, the crown jewel of Iran's clandestine operations, opens a northern front, forcing the US to divert its ballistic missile defense (BMD) assets to protect regional allies. The Mediterranean becomes as volatile as the Gulf. The diplomatic and negotiation terms that once held the JCPOA together are now ancient history, replaced by the raw language of kinetic force. There is no more talk of red lines, only of survival. The power vacuum created by the initial strikes is rapidly being filled by radical elements, threatening to turn the entire region into a failed state. As we reach day 36, the fever pitch of the first week has cooled into a terrifying, stagnant stalemate. Both sides have achieved their immediate military objectives, yet both have lost the broader geopolitical struggle. The US has proven it can strike any target at will, but it has failed to secure the region or stabilize the global economy. Iran has proven it can survive a superpower's onslaught, but its infrastructure is in ruins, and its future is mortgaged to the powers that supported it during the siege. The 36 days didn't result in a victor. They resulted in a new, more dangerous world, where the rules of international relations have been rewritten in blood and oil. The fire that started in the Persian Gulf was never just about missiles or drones. It was the inevitable conclusion of a 40-year collision course between two irreconcilable visions of the Middle East. The ruins of the Fifth Fleet and the charred remains of Iranian nuclear facilities are mere symptoms of a deeper, unresolved fever. This conflict remains active, pulsating beneath the surface of every diplomatic meeting and every new round of sanctions. The world is now holding its breath, knowing that the next 36 days could be even more devastating than the last. The shadow war hasn't ended. It is simply a shifting, and if you aren't paying attention to the moves on the board, you're already behind. Do not miss the next breakdown of this evolving crisis. Subscribe now, hit the like button to support independent geopolitical analysis, and share this video to wake people up to the reality of the new Middle East. Your engagement is the only way this information cuts through the noise. Subscribe today. August 4th, 2026, day 37. The war shifts from the skies to the shadows. This morning, US CENTCOM reported a massive wave of proxy attrition as coordinated strikes hit supply lines across Iraq and Syria. This wasn't a direct hit on the US mainland, but a sophisticated cyber offensive that crippled the digital infrastructure of regional oil terminals. The goal was clear: force a logistical overstretch before the main event. By nightfall, the theater of operations had expanded from a localized fight into a regional nightmare. August 5th, day 38. The escalation ladder breaks. Iran unleashes its swarm doctrine against a US carrier strike group, CSG. For hours, the world watched as ballistic missile defense, BMD systems worked overtime to intercept hundreds of low-cost suicide drones. This is asymmetric warfare in its purest form, forcing a superpower to bleed high-cost munitions against cheap disposable tech. While the ships remained afloat, the psychological blow to petrodollar stability was immediate. The message: no one is untouchable in the Strait of Hormuz. August 6th, day 39. Total maritime interdiction. Iran utilizes its tactical depth, moving mobile anti-access/area denial A2/AD units into the coastal caves of the south. They have effectively choked the world's most vital artery. Signal intelligence SIGINT confirms that all sanction evasion routes have been shut down by the Iranians themselves. A scorched earth economic policy designed to drag the global markets down with them. The US responds with surgical strikes on radar nodes, but the Integrated Air Defense System, IADS, remains resilient, hiding behind civilian shields. Today, August 7th, 2026, day 40. The morning began with a chilling silence, broken only by a televised ultimatum from Tehran. This is the geopolitical flashpoint the world feared. Iran has issued a direct threat. If the US attempts to break the blockade today, every major oil refinery in the region will be targeted for destruction. This isn't just about regional hegemony anymore. It is a use-it-or-lose-it gamble for survival. US forces are currently in a high-stake kinetic engagement posture, waiting for the order to either go all in or witness the total collapse of regional energy security. The events from day 37 to day 40 have led us to this exact moment of maximum tension. What started as a cycle of sanctions and rhetoric has hardened into a concrete threat that could ignite the entire hemisphere. The conflict is active, the weapons are hot, and the resolution is nowhere in sight. The fuse that was lit 40 days ago has finally reached the heart of the world's energy supply. August 7th is the day the talking stopped and the final countdown began. At 7:52 p.m. Eastern Time, just 8 minutes before a final ultimatum to obliterate a civilization expired, the world's most dangerous countdown clock stopped. President Donald Trump, via a flurry of high-velocity social media posts, has announced an immediate 2-week ceasefire with Iran. The reaction was instant. Crude oil prices, which peaked at $140 a barrel, plummeted 10% in a single hour. But this is more than a pause, it is a paradigm shift. As we reach day 41 of Operation Epic Fury, the smoke over the Persian Gulf is clearing to reveal a new master of the Middle East chessboard. In a historic first, the US has agreed to a 10-point peace plan, drafted not in Washington, but in Tehran. This dramatic de-escalation was brokered by the high-stakes intervention of Pakistan. While the US Fifth Fleet was locked in a deadly war of attrition against Iranian AI-2AD systems, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and General Asim Munir engaged in a frantic 72-hour bout of shuttle diplomacy. Facing an existential debt crisis and regional collapse, Islamabad leveraged its unique ties with both the Trump administration and Iranian leadership to secure an extension. By hosting the Islamabad talks, starting this Friday, April 10th, Pakistan has positioned itself as the indispensable mediator, moving the conflict from a kinetic exchange to a diplomatic summit. The resulting Iran mandate is a strategic earthquake. Despite the February 28th decapitation strike that killed Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, Tehran's new leadership has not blinked. Their 10-point plan, which Trump labeled a workable basis, demands the total withdrawal of all US combat forces from the Middle East, the lifting of all economic sanctions, regulated passage of the Strait of Hormuz under direct Iranian military coordination. This is a direct blow to American hegemony. It signals that while the US possesses first strike capability, Iran still holds the keys to the global economy. By day 41, the Shia Crescent has proven its resilience. American precision-guided munitions decimated Iranian centrifuges, but failed to neutralize the proxy networks that paralyzed the region. This ceasefire marks the first time the US has negotiated with Iran while it sits at the nuclear threshold. We are witnessing the birth of a multipolar order, where regional players like Pakistan and Oman dictate terms to a superpower. The grand strategy of regime change has been traded for a fragile truce. The cost of total victory simply became too high for Washington to pay. The 2026 war has rewritten the rules of international relations. While the fire of Operation Epic Fury has been dampened, the embers glow red. The next 2 weeks in Islamabad will decide if this is the end of the war, or merely the eye of the storm. To understand the secret moves and the new power players shaping your future, you cannot afford to miss what comes next. Subscribe now for the inside track on the Islamabad summit, hit the like button to support this deep dive, and share this video to expose the real story behind the headlines.